Ricky here with Breaking Your Barriers, and all I can say is, man, oh man, I got a brother here with me who's going to be sharing somewhat of the same background as me, and that's the reason why I'm really excited to share his story with you today. Because number one, this man is a champion. This man is a hero. Originally from Rochester, New York, now currently resides in Texas. And not only does he share somewhat of the same background, I'm not going to give it away because this is going to be it's going to be a roller coaster for you who are listening, who think you have no hope. My man here has the same background as me. Let's just say we were bad guys. We're bad boys. We're bad boys. You're going to find that out. Today, he is a ridiculously amazing inspirational speaker. He's an inspirer. He's a motivator. He's an oratorical ninja. Let me go ahead and put it that way. My man speaks, he inspires, and he talks to people all over the country. Not even that, he has a full-time job, and he also works for, I believe, Entrepreneur Magazine, if I'm not mistaken. So my man went from being a bad man, and he's going to tell you that in his story, to somebody who inspires people like who we were back then, to give them hope, to give them motivation, to let them realize, you know what, there's another way. I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to go ahead and just say, Jevon, thank you for coming on the show, brother. Appreciate you.
Hey, thank you so much, Ricky. And man, I need to have you introduce me more often, brother. That was awesome. Oratorical ninja. Wow. Love it, man. So yeah, thank you for having me on here, man. And I'm just looking forward to the conversation. I know we're gonna bring a lot of energy. So listeners, keep it locked in. Make sure y'all ready. Get your favorite beverage, which mine is water, and we're gonna go in. Hey, is that a whiskey?
Oh no, man.
Oh,
oh no, straight up water. Just water. You and I are going to be sharing some whiskey when we celebrate. When me and Jevon, when we get together and collaborate and we're both on a stage together, after that we're going to share a drink responsibly, mind you, responsibly, because this,
absolutely.
I'm telling you, you guys are in for a treat. And I'm not lying when I call my brother an oratorical ninja. This man is something else. Not only, I'm telling you, not only does he have that charismatic smile, he got a story to back it up too. So brother, let me go ahead and ask you the first things first, because they're probably going, what do you mean bad boy? We want to find that out. We don't care about what he's doing right now. What's up with the bad boy stuff?
What you mean?
Yeah, so brother, please feel free to let us know who you were and who you are today.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, man. Who I was a lost soul, man. And that's where I think a lot of it comes from for many of us. I was someone at just a teenager. I was 17 years old when the incident occurred that you're talking about, when I went to jail. I was facing 7 years for an assault and robbery charge, and I didn't care. And the reason why I didn't care is because I didn't have a sense of value for self. I didn't love myself. I didn't think anything was possible but where I was going, because where I'm from, Rochester, New York, we're told two things, right? Dead or jail. And if you do make it, you're not going to see past 25. So that's what the reality was for me. And we all know that your perception is your reality. So if you perceive that to be the case, that's absolutely what's going to happen. So I let those things get into me, and it just pretty much took my hope away. So it wasn't really that I was like bad intentionally. I just thought I had to fight. I had this survival mode. So in survival mode, you do anything you need to do to survive. If you think about the animal kingdom, right? Those animals are instinctually going to fight, and they're going to do whatever they have to do to make sure they're the last animal standing. And that's really how it was for me. Like, I didn't have any other way to see outside of this bubble that I was in, which was Rochester, New York. So there's a constant cloud of despair over us. And we all had the same lifestyle, the same thing. And we didn't know the power of collaboration. We only knew compete. So we only knew like, hey, I had to get these scraps. We were on food stamps, all these other things. And I was tired of that. To put it frankly, I was tired of that, man. And I seen the the drug dealers, all that, they having money, they have to change, right? All these things. And that's what we think is value. We think the material things are value. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna take their value too, right? And that's how it started. right? So that's where I got down this path. I actually started doing that at like 13, right? I started doing the stick up kids and all that stuff. I had my first tech. That was my first gun, right? Was a tech. So that thing was jamming all the time, right? So I was like, okay, this doesn't. I didn't know anything about it, right? I just knew I need to squeeze, but I knew that it didn't work. So I got a Glock off of someone, and that was my thing. And I did everything by myself until this one night. This one night, I was actually going to the movies. And this is how I know God was telling me something. I was going to the movies and we got in the car with these guys and they decided to do some wild stuff. And then the cops pulled us over. Right. But this is how I know it was God, because he placed me in that cell for like a month and a half. And the only visit I had during that time that I was able to see was my mom and my oldest sister. And my mom and my oldest sister, they are the heroes in this story. You will not see me sitting with you without this story, because when I went to the visitation room, my mom told me she put up the house, right, so she can afford a lawyer. Now, if you think about this, I didn't think about this at the time. I just thought that, wow, I'm loved, right? I feel good. So that gave me the sense of value in my mind. But if you think about it now from that standpoint, that is the same house that my mom and my 3 sisters and my oldest brother stayed in. So if anything happened where I, somehow messed up and they didn't get that back, everybody would have been homeless. Right. Just to put that in perspective. Right. So that same day where I got that visit, I went back up to my cell. I felt good. Yeah, I was shackled physically, but mentally, I'm like, yo, this is something new. Right. And that's exactly how I felt, Ricky. I was hugging myself. I went into that cell. I'm like, yes. So I finally got on my knees for the first time ever. At that point, I prayed to God using my own words. Now, I had prayed before, but that's because someone else told me to pray. But this was the first time I used my own words. And the power in that cannot be spoken by any words that we know to man. Because guess what God did? He let me out. He got me out of there and he said, listen, you have a path. You have a choice. Either this can be your life. You can keep going on this path, being a knucklehead, doing dumb stuff, or you can go down this path, graduate high school, be something of yourself, make something of yourself, use your mind and your heart. Don't worry about the money and things will come. And that's what I chose. I chose that right path, right? It's like the Matrix, right? So I chose the right pill, I guess.
I mean, that honestly, brother, that's it in a nutshell. And what you said, it's exactly the same thing here on the West Coast. The most important thing to us was the bling, was the cheddar, and the most important thing was the street cred.
Exactly. Your name was all you had, right?
Give me 2. Yeah, that's all we had. We can all, because exactly what you said with regards to food stamps. I mean, I was telling my other guest yesterday. I said we were so poor. We had third world countries sending us money.
Yeah, that's a level right there. That's wow.
So it was
that's
pretty
real
cool
stuff right there.
Brother, when you were in jail for that month and a half, I need to ask you, because most people, you and I, no matter how tough we are on the outside, holy crap, when you're on the inside, man, that totally messes with your head. The mental anguish starts to kick in. And I'm just curious, what did you think about during that entire month and a half having to be in county to keep you strong? Because you knew you had a 7-year stint. And you didn't think that you're going to get out.
Right. I and the gravity of it all didn't really hit me. I was still in there. I'm like, I'm in county, so it's local. So, some people in there. And in Rochester, like the floors at that time, they were separating like the west side from the east side, because in Rochester, every street is pretty much a gang. Like if you're on the west side, every single avenue is its own thing. And then on the east side, same thing. So I was an east sider. They put me on the top floor. So I didn't know those people, but we kind of came together, type of thing. So it didn't never hit me. I was just talking to people who had various charges, but we was never malicious towards each other. We was just like, yo, we got to keep this floor clean. This is our home right now. And that's how it was. But it hit me afterwards when I was thinking about it. And I was like, wow, And they still had me do like probation just to make sure I was maintaining my thing when I got out. But it hit me afterwards. I was like, I'm free. Like, I could have been in there and I was 17. I would have been in there with the big dogs up north somewhere. Right. And that's when it hit me. I was like, wow, I don't know what that would have looked like. I'm in there with some murderers, some killers, some rapists, some all these other types of people who really were bad people, right? Who really meant to do the things that they were doing and contemplated it and didn't think twice about it, right? Me, I was just a lost soul. Like I wasn't really about that life. If you think about the level of stuff I was willing to do, I wasn't willing to really kill anyone at that stage. At least I don't think I was. Right. So it's like if I ended up in there, man, my whole life would have changed. My whole life would have just been done. Nothing that I've done up to this point would have been accomplished. And I just think about that. I think about it often. And it's one of the things that drives me. Right. So I always say I'm not motivated, I'm inspired. Right. Inspiration is forever. Motivation is fleeting. I am inspired to do what I'm doing now.
I love that. I love that. I love that. You and I literally, we were running on the same streets, just in a different area of the world. And hearing you say what you're saying, it just hits home with me, especially when your mom was willing to put everything on the line for you.
Right.
And the thing is, you felt it. It took me a while to feel mine. And you started at 13. I started at 12, 13 too.
Right.
Just doing some stupid stuff.
Doing stuff. Yeah. But you know, the root of where it comes from isn't stupid. Right. And that's what we have to realize. Like I was saying earlier, you don't see opportunities and you don't know that you can create opportunities. All you know is that you're downtrodden, like you are just looked at as the worst of the worst, even if you don't do anything wrong. And that's where that thing comes from. It's like, I need to get out of here. And you're really just struggling. You're fighting,
right? But
you're fighting going down the wrong way. You don't know that. It's like, I have to do whatever I have to do, especially when you have sisters and mom and, you know, all these people. You're like, I need to take care of them. This can't be life, right?
That's right.
My mom's going to work all day and like, I don't even see her when I come home from school because she's still at work. Me and my sister got a call, you know? So it's like those things get in your head and you're like, nah, this can't be it, man. Staying in a dilapidated house that probably should have been condemned. All those types of things just hit you and you become tired. You know, you're like, man, I can't take this. Like I'm the man of the house, no matter how old I am. I can't do this. You know, this shouldn't be the way.
You learn. See, the thing about you brothers, with what you just said right there, it's ridiculously inspirational because you learned at such a young age and you saw that.
Right.
You saw that right away. I need to ask you, brother, when you were 13, 12, 13, did you always want to be a speaker?
Man, you know what? I didn't know what I wanted to be, actually. So I used to want to be a lawyer. Then that was just a thing. I guess you could say that's speaking in a general sense. But I used to, because I always see my mom used to watch Matlock all the time. Matlock was a bad man, right? So he's just always winning cases and all that other stuff. So I'm like, yo, that's cool what he's doing. He's helping people, you know, get out. So I was like, man, I want to be a lawyer. And that was just how TV was really where we got a lot of these ideas, TVs and music. Right. And I was like, I didn't want to be a cop. I wanted to be on the other side where I could help people, you know, like wrongfully arrested and all that, because a lot of people around me, you know, like people who inspired me, you know, who were in the streets, who took care of me, like made sure I was protected if I walked down to the store as a little, you know, child. I thought about them. So I'm like, man, I probably could get them out. So that's how I thought I could be a lawyer, but I didn't know what it really meant.
I love your thought process on that, man, because I'm a weird kid. When I was in junior high school, I never knew it would come to pass, but I'm one of those weird kids. I was telling kids in school, I was, you know what, I'm gonna be a professional speaker. And they're like, yeah, right. Where? In front of the judge? In front of the cop? In front of your inmates?
Yeah.
You know? So I was one of the weird kids. They were really smashing my dream. So when you said what you said, guess what, brother? You were in the speaking realm, because you could have easily said engineer. You could have easily said doctor, which you don't really talk. You're just like, oh, here's a diagnosis, whatever. And no disrespect to them, but what we do today is so far from what we had truly expected of ourselves. And I
Absolutely.
need to ask you, since you mentioned that, with regards to your heroes, and regardless if it's with the gang or outside of here, who were your heroes that helped you mold into this amazing man that you are today?
Man, I always say I have virtual mentors. So I do have to say, like my mom. So I grew up in a polygamous household, actually. So my mom was wife number two, right? So she, she had a husband technically, right, who would be back and forth. And I had to say, like, I didn't appreciate him then, but I appreciate him for what he was trying to do. I just didn't feel like it was enough at the time. But now I appreciate it when I look back. Like he came in, 4 kids. And he's like, I'll do what I can type of thing. He had a whole nother family on this side. So,
Wow.
I have to salute to him even still. We had our differences when I was younger and, I not looking back. So I would say that shaped me in a way that it's atypical because I looked at like what I didn't want, really. So I got to salute to that, like what I didn't want. And
Right.
then I had like people like Muhammad Ali, who I looked up to. I said, he stood for something. He stood for everything. He was willing to put everything on the line. Right. He was willing to say, you know what, I know I'm a champion boxer, but guess what? I'm not going into that war because they didn't call me nigga. You did. Right. And that just blew my mind that
Right.
someone could do that on that scale. So he was always one of my heroes. And just looking at, and then you had Malcolm X on the other side. So people like that who really stood out, who really stood for something, who stood on, we say 10 toes down, right?
Yeah.
And really like put it out there and wasn't selfish at all. Look for moving change. And that's who my heroes were, like those types of people. And then later on, of course, Barack was a hero. So it's just Les Brown is another one we talking about speakers. Is another one of my heroes. So man, it's just, yeah, it goes down. Zig Ziglar, those types of people, so that would be a list of some of them.
That's a short list. That's a short list.
Yeah. It's some of them. I got a bunch more, man, but that's my top right there. That's the people that come to mind right now.
Oh man. Woo. And everybody just mentioned, I mean, every single person you just mentioned are some of my heroes, are actually all of them are my heroes, including Martin Luther King.
Oh,
This
absolutely.
oh my God,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Gandhi.
Oh man. Martin Luther King, like Frederick Douglass, George Washington Carver, all those type of people that really paved the way. Nat Turner, right? Nothing would be possible without Nat Turner. He literally risked his life. Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth,
That's right.
everyone who paved the way is just a hero to me, right? People who stood in their truth and they were willing to risk everything to move forward and for not just themselves, but for their people. That's my heroes.
And they risked everything like this because they didn't see you as a color. They didn't see
Right.
you as a religion or anything else. They saw you as a human being, which is
Right.
amazing. Because what Martin said and what Gandhi said and what everybody else that we've mentioned have said, the humankind. I love these
Right.
champions, and I'm like you, my brother. I'm always reading, listening to them. I have the 16 hours of Les Brown on my Audible, and
Mm.
I'm always waiting for him to do his signature laugh, which is
Yeah.
that squeeze that he
Right.
does. Man,
Yes,
every
sir.
time.
Yes, sir. Yeah, one of my proudest moments, man, was having him. Did an anthology with him and Dr. Sherwood Wood recently, and that was my best moments, man. Having his forward in the book. So it's like, let me see. Let me see if I have a copy real quick. Yeah, so it's called Dare to Rise Above Mediocrity. So this book right here, man, it's called Dare to Rise Above Mediocrity, right? And he wrote the forward in here. So as you can see, I wrote it with a bunch of other authors, but you see me right here. And for me, that was like I can't have a better moment than that, man. As you can see, his forward is right there. So it just that is a dream come true, right? Well,
Brother, you've paved your lifelong legacy, even when you and I are far gone, for the future of people who
right.
are going to be reading this amazing book. You're always going to touch their life, brother. You've cemented your name, and you're going to continue to cement your name, because guess what, brother? Your chapter's not over by any stretch, not even close. It's just starting. It's just starting, and man, I can't wait when you and I and Karen and Dez and our team share the stage one of these days. The world's gonna implode, my man.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be magical, brother.
It is gonna be absolutely magical. Because I'm telling you, this, I don't know if you relate in the same way, because I was full of hate, I was full of anger, I was full of violence back in the days. Today, I'm full of peace, I'm full of love, I'm full of courage, and I'm full of serving and service for my fellow man, because everything that I've received in my life is a blessing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. People would be reading my obituary saying, "Hey, there goes another loser."
Right. Absolutely, man. I feel that wholeheartedly. And it's funny how, people, when you really sit back and look at the 180 that was done, it really is true that it's not how you started. Right? And that's what I really push into the world, because so many people have this idea that their circumstances are permanent. And it's not. They're not permanent at all. And that's what I want people to realize. It's like faith is one of the key pillars to any success. You have to have faith, because if you've never seen it or done it, you have to believe that it's possible before you do it. And that's something that so many people struggle with. 85% of the world struggles with self-esteem at some point. And that's something that people don't talk about. So my whole thing about this 180 we've done, it really comes from vulnerability. It comes from being vulnerable, because there's been people along the way who have helped us in some way, shape, or form, who wouldn't have been able to help us if we weren't open to receiving the help. Like your music teacher, right? If we were not open to saying and seeing their perspective and what they saw in us, we would never be sharing this conversation right now. And so I challenge the listeners to look at how they are blocking their blessings. Look at how they're speaking to themselves. Look at where their faith lies, if they still have faith. Because it's easy to say, yes, I have faith, right? Especially in a higher power. But do you have faith in yourself is the question. Do you believe in you? Because if you don't believe in you, truly, genuinely believe, there's so many things that you are preventing from taking place in your life. And the word that comes to mind is serendipity.
Preach on, brother.
Yeah, one of the things that we hinder really comes from the lack of being open to that, open to beautiful things taking place, putting ourselves in positions, creating opportunities instead of waiting for opportunities. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, I'm just busy, I can't do this right now. But then when you look at what they're busy with, quite frankly, it's bull. Right?
I love that.
Quite
you said it best, brother, when you said they got to be open to opportunities. But this is crazy, because I'm guessing the 85%. I'm guessing even more than that, honestly, brother. I mean, we're just thinking a little bit more conservatively, just to give.
Yeah, that's just reported, right? That's an NCR study. That's just reported. So yes, I'm sure.
Yeah, and what you said was great, because let's say they do get this opportunity. That what's crazy is people find problems for their solution.
I like
people find problems for their solution. The solution's already there, but they're like, you know what? That possibly ain't gonna work for me. Hello, you got the roadmap. They already mapped out the road for you.
Right. Nah, that's powerful right there, bro. People find problems for their solution, and that is absolutely true. And you know what that is? That's called an excuse.
Yes, sir.
Right? And those excuses, one of my favorite quotes that I say all the time is, you have to find reasons to be great instead of excuses to be mediocre. And that's exactly what you're saying, bro. It's like people will keep, until they're blue in the face, they will tell you why they cannot do something, even if they know it's good. But again, that fear and that lack of faith is hindering them. They will make any reason. They would rather be uncomfortable in a situate or be comfortable. Really, you're I'm gonna say it differently. You're comfortable because you know the situation you're in, right? It could be the worst situation. They could be in the worst situation, worst house, worst whatever, but they would rather sit in that because they know it's familiar than to go outside of their comfort zone in order to grow and challenge themselves in a different way. And that's what's stopping so many people, man.
I told people that I've spoken to during the seminars, summits, as well as keynotes that I've given as well.
Mhm.
The worst illness isn't COVID, even the first COVID that came out, which is just killing people. The worst virus people are ever gonna have in their system is excusitis and Reasonitis.
I love it.
That's the biggest killer, not only of their dreams, it's going to be the biggest killer of their life, because they're going to live exactly what you just said, brother, in the familiar, because they don't want to change that habit. They'd rather stick to the, you know what, I'm in pain, I'm not doing anything, I'm a loser, but I'm used to it and I got to exert much energy.
Right.
So
Right.
what you said, brother, I mean, it's profound and it definitely hits home. I got to ask you, for our listeners, my man, with regards to what you and I have gone through in our past, because I didn't see the light of hope. And I was going to ask you, for people going through the same things that we possibly are going through, or going through their own challenges, their own adversity, what tips or advice would you give, hope-wise and possibility-wise, for people that believe it's not possible?
Absolutely. And we're in a different time now than when we were coming up, right? We didn't have the internet and all that stuff, really. That was coming, you know? So that came in later. So it's like today, you have so many options and resources, right? If you're feeling that way, one is if you're on social media, change your feed, change what you have on your feed, because you're probably feeding yourself even more negative energy, right? So change it to positive influences, listen to motivational things, listen to things that inspire and educate you, and then take that and bring that and transpose it into your reality. So get people around you. I have this concept of the 360 support system, 360 degrees of support, right? Yep. And that starts with you. Like, first you have to do the work on you. So you can't expect anyone to support you if you're not supporting yourself. So you have to look at you and say, okay, what am I telling myself? How am I talking to me? That's the first and foremost thing, because we have over 60,000 thoughts, a day easily, and that's on the conservative side. And most of those are negative, but we're not aware of it. So really doing that works, so you become mindful of how you're thinking and changing it. So instead of saying, yo, I suck at this, or I don't have this, how can I get better, or how can I get, right? Have that mentality. That's the growth mentality versus the scarcity mentality. And then also you got to have people around you, right? Have some people around you. If you can get people around you that's doing just this much better than you, that you can reach out, some mentors, some sponsors, because there's a difference between a mentor and a sponsor. So the mentor, people you can get advice from, they have you work through some things, they already done some things, but a sponsor is going to get you in those rooms. They're going to mention your name. They're going to be like, yo, how got get this person over here? We should bring them in, right? So you have to get both of those, and don't be afraid to mingle with people who are not of your color, your kind, your whatever, your demographics, because that's where a lot of us falter at. We want to be around just our people, when you have to branch out.
That's right.
You have to put yourself in different spaces, and it may be uncomfortable when you first do it, but that's where the changes takes place. Really, it boils down to change makers. I call my community change makers. It boils down to being a change, because a change maker is willing to take those risks. We talked about all those people who we looked up to and all that. They had that mentality. They said, you know what? I know I don't like what's going on around me. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to change. And that is the key. So people who feel like they're low on hope, find those people, those virtual mentors that you can look up to, and then do a skills inventory. So you can take a strengths finder test, you can write it down, whatever you want to do. But look at what you do have. Like, what resources do you have? And I like this principle, finding your reason for being, right? And it takes your skills, it takes what you are good at, right? What people will pay for, what the world needs, and what you enjoy doing. And you take that, and if you can combine all that, Now you have something you can work on. So if
Yep.
you're not making any money now, you can monetize that. We see it all the time. If you go to New York or LA, you see street performers doing a thing, right?
Right.
They found that. They found something that they had a skill in, and they
Mhm.
found a way to monetize it. People enjoy it, right? So it's just like, you may not be able to start where you want to be, but you got to start somewhere.
That's right.
And in order to start somewhere, like, it's really about having that goal and saying, listen, what am I willing to, what am I willing to do? And then what am I willing to give up? Because it's going to take some sacrifice, whether it's your social life, right? Some hours a day, whatever. It's going to take some sacrifice. A lot of people want instant gratification, and that's just not going to fly, right? True success is lasting. You can get it in perpetuity, but it's really going to take that sacrifice. One of my quotes that I say is like, yo, I'm going to grind hard until it becomes easy. And that's it. That's it, man.
Oh, that's it, brother. And like you said, everybody's looking at that instant gratification. So me and brother Jevon over here, we're talking about, you can either take that steroids and get that bam instant gratification. You got to put in the work. However, you got to put in a quarter of the work. Now,
Right.
I'm willing to do it all naturally. Because now, if you're willing to do what me and my brother here are doing, which is we're willing to go on that long journey, because we're willing to pay our dues. We're willing to go through the mistakes. We're willing to take exactly what Jevon just said. Risk, risk, risk. Now, we took stupid risk back then, but this here, if you have an opportunity, you have the most important thing at your disposal, choice. You can choose to go with this pill. So I'm using your reference.
That's all good. Let's go.
You can go with this pill right here, or you can go with this pill right here. So it is ultimately your choice. Now, exactly what you said, brother. And I want to point out more on that, because what you said was ridiculously important. When you said people need to focus on what they have as strengths, when you and I got out of the gang or the streets or whatever, guess what you and I picked up? We picked up risk taking.
Absolutely.
Sacrifice.
Absolutely.
We picked up leadership, because you need to be a leader to go through with what you're going to go through, regardless of the outcome. So we picked that up and we utilize that in our daily life today. Now, of course, we made the choice of using it for a more positive future for us, as well as for our listeners. But that's the thing. Everybody's got something within them. And you said that perfectly when you were telling me about people needing to take risk. They need to make that move. There is always hope. There's never an end in sight. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm poor now, let me go to just, put my head down, I'm done. Nope.
Right.
Do something. You got to get that momentum going. And once you get it going, look at us. Two guys who could have easily gone to jail. And to represent that, I wore orange today, damn it. No, I'm kidding. Only thing missing is the number.
Oh man, that was good. That was good.
So what would be somebody's first step? Let's just put them in our scenario so that somebody can relate to us. Poor, parents not around, possibly doing some crazy stuff, whatever it may be, because my dad wasn't around either. And drugs all over, streets, dilapidated house. What would be your first step or first tip for these folks who need some hope from us, because we've done it?
Absolutely. I mean, the first step is to decide, right? You talked about choice earlier. Well, you got to decide that that's not going to be you. Mm-hmm. So something that I realized, coming up from, how we came up is,
oh yeah,
you don't have to be a product of your environment. You can be a product of your effort, right? So you may be in that situation right then, but if you decide that that's not going to be your life, things will start happening for you. If you put your best foot forward, and it's not, you're not distracted by the quick, what we see as the quick wins, which is really not a win at all, because if you think about the street life, the risk, the reward is so small versus the risk, right? So just avoid that, right? Avoid that. Shout out to the people that do well in school and stay focused in school and all that stuff. Do that, right? You got to take that option. That may not be the only thing, right? But that's the best option you have. You have to go with what is best for you at that moment. The thing about being in those circumstances, in those environments, is in this day and age, is we have resources. We can reach out now because we have computers, we have phones, we have all these things, and you have so many resources. So if you can, find some resources that you can use to assist you for where you want to go. There's scholarships, there's different groups. Like, just find some groups who have people and individuals who motivate you, who will protect you, who will support you, and then surround yourself with that. Constantly be in that when you can. Whenever you get an opportunity to change your environment, change it. Be in those places. Look up things that motivate you, right? Get a vision board. I don't care what it is, but always have some inspiration around you, and change your phone screen. All these types of things. It's really about starting here, because I don't care if you're free here, like in the world, but if you're imprisoned in your mind, you're never going to do anything. And that's where it all starts. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we got to feed ourselves with positivity, and it's not toxic, right? I'm not talking about toxic positivity saying, oh, things are great when they actually suck. Right. But also saying, like, all right, things are not what I want them to be. I have the choice. I can go change it. Here's what I'm going to do. Write it out. Write out what you want to do, where you want to do. So the first thing, like I said, decide. You want to look at what you want, and then you can reverse engineer that, right? You can start taking steps. Like, oh, okay, if I'm a teenager, I need to finish high school first and foremost, right? Maybe if I have great academics, I need to start applying for scholarships, or if I'm an athlete, scholarships. Whatever you have the options on, I need to look for grants for at-risk teams. You know, all these different things. Sign up for some programs, some after-school things. Just all these things to start building and reinforcing the good in you. And then once you do that, you will see your power and your value, and no one can tell you anything. And especially society, because that's where that feeling comes from, is society just telling you like, oh, you ain't nothing, right? And now these days we see people on yachts and all that. We think that's success. Well, it's not. Right? Not. So make sure you understand what success is to you, and what life you want to live, and what goals you want to achieve. Because if someone else is telling you that, you will never be fulfilled anyway. If you're chasing what someone else wants for you, chase what you want. Go for the life you want. And that is really the key. So decide to be better 1% each day, and I guarantee you, you will never fail.
Oh, you could have said any better, brother, especially talking about everything starts here. So you're right. If you imprison yourself in here, you can breathe free as a bird, being able to do what you want. But guess what? You're shackled in your mind, and you're not going to take that next step forward because you are locked up. That was powerful. And I love that. I love the fact that you mentioned about success not being about not about the bling, not about the cheddar, not about the yachts, because we've seen so many affluent and rich people commit suicide because they're not free here. They're not successfully managing their mental health.
Right.
So you said it right, brother. Everything starts with the power of your thoughts. If you think you're a loser, you're right.
Right. Henry Ford.
You're a winner. You're right.
Henry Ford. Right. You can
that's
or you
right.
can't. You're right. You know.
Exactly right, brother. I'm gonna ask you to. I'm asking your advice for our parents, and the reason being is because they probably have kids just like us, or maybe not as crazy as we were, who are. Let me just put it that way.
Right.
Like I said, the only difference between me and brother Jevon is I didn't get caught, but that didn't mean I didn't do stupid stuff for the reason of trying to fit in somewhere. Okay. Right. But parents, I'm going to ask Jevon for his input for you, because let's say you do have a daughter. Let's say you do have a son who's going through what we possibly went through. Jevon, what's your thoughts on that, my man?
So one of the first things I would say to parents is don't tell them what to do, right? You have to listen. Give them a space where they can talk to you. Try to understand like where it's coming from before you judge them or make them feel a type of way, because they're just going to retreat from that. So you have to show support, show that you care, show that you love. Listen to them first, you know, get that space and ask them, inquire, you know, instead of just saying, how was your day and letting them walk off, you know, just, you know, try to see if you can set up a space, an environment where they can just talk to you freely about what's happening. especially if it's like out of their norm. So if you know their baselines, you can tell when something's up, something's going on. So if you can pay attention to your children and, you can make them feel like, they have a space where they can talk about, and they're not going to get in trouble for saying whatever's going on, they will come to you eventually. Like, they're going to tell you like, hey, I'm getting bullied in school, I'm getting forced to do these things, whatever, right? Have those conversations and just try to see if you can find things that they're interested in, find hobbies and all that stuff, see what they like to do. And that gives them more things to occupy, and it helps them feel like, yo, I'm supported. I don't have to do anything, any bullcrap. So that's what I would tell parents to do. Just support, love. Don't talk in an accusatory tone. Don't make them feel like they have to be recluse or hide things from you, right? Really understand them and really talk to them as if they are, in a human, right? You talk to them as a human. Don't talk down to them. Don't tell them like, this is what I would do. All that stuff. I can tell you, as a person that was a kid, we all have been there. When my mom started talking that, I'm like, all right, I gotta go. But if I came and I knew I wasn't feeling right, I would come and tell her, because she still made that space for me where I could tell her like, yo, ma, something's going on, right? I don't feel right. I'm doing this, right? This and that. So create that space, and then invite, like, see who they're hanging with. Like, understand who they're hanging with, because that's a big thing, man. At those ages, you are very influenced. You can be influenced by anything, right? So, it's a malleable stage. Like, you want to be a part of that shaping. So make sure they're not around the wrong crowds. Invite their friends over so you can get to know them. And that'll show that you just like, hey, your mom's cool, your dad's cool. Really, I'm checking in to see who you hanging with, right? So just fit it in ways that seem like, you're giving them the space, but also that you're paying attention. You're just doing it in a way where it feels welcoming.
Right. Not this. At first, I swear, Jevon, I thought you were describing my mom. Hey, mom, I love you. Hold on, I'm gonna mom, I love you. But I thought he was describing you, because when we were the age, you're like, you.
Right, and that's what happens, And as a parent, you just want the best for your kid, but we have to understand that this day and age is different. Mm-hmm. Right, like back then, we can get smacked, we can do all types of stuff will happen, but this day is kind of, you got to have a different approach, right? Because children, first of all, they're growing faster, they're more intelligent. The kids will call CPS on you. Like, what? You call CPS on me? What's wrong with you? So you got to parent a little differently these days.
For those of you who are listening today, if you want to get Jevon to speak for you, I'm going to leave this information in my description on my YouTube channel, Hanging Out with Local Heroes, Breaking Your Barriers. But my point is, if you want to have Jevon come out, no matter what country you're in, because my man's got a global message. I don't care where you're from. I don't mean that in a gang way. I mean where you're from around the world. No matter where you are, my man will and he can come out to speak, and he can and he will change lives. So before we end this fantastic interview, I'm gonna go to give you guys a treat by asking Jevon to go and leave us with some wisdom, a piece of advice, a tip he would leave for all of our listeners.
Absolutely, man. First and foremost, thank you again, Ricky. It's been fun, man. It's been a great thing. And, really, I love speaking about these things. So I'm glad we can have this conversation about, how it starts. And that's one of the things I would want to talk to listeners about. The last departing words is, don't worry about where you are right now, right? Think about where you want to be, because where you want to be is more important. So the present dictates that. Ooh. So once you figure that out, start doing the work now. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Don't just think about it and dream about it. Take action. And I want that action to be intentional, right? Because success is going to happen when you become focused, when you become intentional with everything, every fiber in your being, right? So remember that you deserve whatever it is you're looking to achieve and accomplish. You deserve that. As long as it's coming from a compassionate place, a place of love, and a place of really wanting to be selfless while you're creating change, you can have it. So just go for it. Dream big, work hard.
We love all of you listeners, and we hope that we've given you something of value. And similar to what my man Jevon just said, your past will never dictate your destiny, your future, and what you have lying ahead of you. And the most important thing is to take advantage of the most important gift you're ever going to receive, the present, right now. Make that change right now. Even if you're clawing away 1 millimeter, one step, 1 foot at a time. Brother, thank you. And once again, breaking your barriers, hanging out with local heroes, my man Jevon Wooden. And our goal here is to always change perceptions and to inspire one person at a time. Thank you again, brother.
Thank you, man. Pleasure.